everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I asked my patrons what kind of challenge I should have on my YouTube channel, and they gave me all kinds of great ideas. But this is the idea that I wanted to do since my husband is here and quarantined with me. He is going to pick 5 items from my craft room, and I have to use them on a layout. So let's get started. Go ahead.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
1.
Oh, sugar.
2.
Sewing machine.
Let's see what we got in these drawers. What we got in here? 3.
That picture?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do you like, Maggie? What you like?
Ooh, that's mixed media drawer.
Ooh, yeah. Four.
That's 4.
And what else we got in here, Mag Willis? What else we got in here? I'm not gonna pick a paper because I don't know what papers go with what. What's in here, Mag Willis? Ooh, some of this stuff.
That's embossing powder.
Oh.
Those are dies.
There's so many drawers, Mag Willis.
Those are bills.
Yeah, those are bills. Don't look at those. Those are the not paid bills. That's
No,
why
those
there's
are
a
the
drawer
paid
full of
bills.
them.
No, that's the paid bills.
Yeah, sure.
Embossing powder?
Yeah.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
You got it.
Okay, everyone. So I created this cut file to use, and I ended up having to use my Cricut because I still have to order a new blade for my silhouette. So I used my Cricut, which it was an electronic die cutting machine. Just not the one he wanted me to use. But I do need a new, like I said, a new blade for it. So my idea, I've been sitting here pondering what I wanted to do with the things that he gave me. So my idea, since he said embossing powder and ink, is to back this with white paper and do some stamping and inking behind the words. So I pulled out several different stamp sets from my stash and used these stamps and words in different places, emboss them, and then ink blend over them with the blue ink. That is the idea. That is what I've got so far. I did pull from my stash a couple things, so I'll go ahead and show you guys. I'm not using a certain collection on this layout, so I pulled some Scrap and Happy Studio epoxy flare, and I thought these would work because they're black and white. I pulled some little vellum hearts that I have left over from Click Kits, some ephemera packs from different collections. I think this is Dear Lizzie. This is Fancy Pants, which I've had in my stash for a really long time. And then this is Paige Evans. And then I pulled in the Chamel Little by Little collection, just because I feel like it has an array of colors. And I think that these will work with anything that I need the papers for, but I really don't think I'm going to need much paper. I think the only thing that I'm going to need paper for is to back the photo. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'll put y'all on fast forward now to create the rest of this layout. I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so now that I have the cut file ready, the first thing that I'm going to do is take a pencil and outline or trace that cut file so I know where to stamp on the background paper. If you don't do this, then you're not really going to know where to stamp. I guess you could stamp wherever, but this just makes it a whole lot easier. I just did it really, really light so you can barely see it. Now I pulled out certain stamps from all kinds of different stamp sets. If I can find them, I will link them below, but some of them are older stamp sets, so I'm not sure if they're still available. So I pulled out hearts from several different stamp sets, and then I pulled out one that says, "You're my forever love," "I adore you," "Oh snap," and "You captured my heart." And then I'm just going to stamp those with Versamark ink and emboss them in black embossing powder. And I'm just going to do that process through the whole cut file. I'm not going to leave the whole process in because it did take quite a while. This video is going to be quite long, but there's a lot of different techniques in this video that's fun. So because my husband picked embossing powder, that is the reason why I decided to do this, and the cut file and the ink. Those three things were kind of the deciding factors behind why I chose to do this. So I'm just trying to find where the sentiment stamps work and where they fit, and then I'll fill in with the heart stamp sets. So there's really no right or wrong way to do this. Some of the words are too thin and I'm not going to be able to fit any kind of stamp on them, so it's not a big deal. I'm going to do ink blending, so it's not going to look blank, so I'm okay with that. But I'm just filling in the spots that are thick enough for stamps, and then embossing them with the black embossing powder. I decided to do black because I really like the boldness of it against colors when you ink blend. I just think it's really, really pretty. And so that's the reason why I decided to do the black ink. I think the black ink just makes a bold, or not black ink, the black embossing powder makes a bold statement, and I really like the way that it looks. Okay, with the magic of editing, when we come back, all of the embossing and stamping is going to be done. Looky there. It looks like a hot mess right now because you really can't see the words, because I did outline it so lightly. But I'm going to take 3 of my Catherine Polar inks and some blending brushes, and I'm going to do kind of an ombre. So I'm starting with the lightest color, which is Meant to Be from Catherine Polar. I will have all of these things linked down below in the description, so make sure you check it out. I also have other stamping on your layout videos that I can pop up above for you to check out if you want more inspiration doing or using your stamps on your layouts. I have a whole playlist that you can check out. So I have moved to another blending brush. This one is just bigger, and actually it was Greg's idea to use it. So I was like, oh yeah. So it's going to not take as long as it would have with the smaller blending brush. So now I'm just going back and forth, blending that ink. And now with the magic of editing again, we are all done with the ink blending, and look how pretty that looks through the cut file. I did create this cut file just in my design space on Cricut, so it really wasn't that hard. All I did was type out the words in a cursive font, and then I made the words close to each other, or the letters close to each other, and then welded the words together, and then it just cut it out like this. I also have the inlay pieces that I can use for another layout if I want. Just make sure that you're gluing all of those little pieces on the insides of those words down if you are using a cut file like this, because you don't want any of those little pieces getting curled up once you put them in your page protector. So just make sure you glue them down well. I'm using a liquid glue. I find that just works a lot better. So I really, really love the way that it looks. Now we are doing the stitching. I did that off camera. Obviously, my stitching is not perfect. It's been a really long time since I used my sewing machine, and I think Greg knows that. So that's the reason why he picked the silhouette and this sewing machine, because he knows that I don't use them very often. So I'm glad that he picked those, because it was nice to bring those in on a layout and incorporate them on a layout. And it definitely was a challenge, but it was a lot of fun. So if you are having a hard time getting kind of your groove back with scrapbooking, or you're just kind of burnt out, I would suggest looking for challenges, maybe going into a Facebook group if you're a part of a Facebook group, and asking somebody to give you a challenge. This was a lot of fun, and I have a lot of challenges that my patrons came up with, so I'm going to be doing those on some layouts for my YouTube channel and for my Patreon page. If you are not a patron, I would love to have you become part of our community over there. I will also have my Patreon page linked below if you would like to become part of our community. So now I have put 3 different layers of papers behind the photo with the Chamel Little by Little 6x6 paper pad. And this photo is just so crazy. I literally told Greg that I'm glad he picked this photo, because it's been sitting in my drawer of photos for, I would say, probably 2 years. It's just been sitting in there. I just have not been able to scrap it because it's so weird looking. But it's funny. It was just a Snapchat filter, and yeah, so there it is. That's us. We're silly and crazy and all of the things. So I'm using a ton of these vellum hearts, and they are a thicker vellum, so you can use liquid glue behind them and you don't even see the liquid glue. As long as it dries clear, it's not going to be an issue, but yeah, you can't even see it, which made me super happy. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all of those down off camera, so you don't have to sit and wait for me to glue all of those down. But I did use the 2 little purple hearts for the dots for the eyes, and I really like the way that looks. And I'm going to use some dimension foam or craft foam behind the photo layers to pop it up and give it a little dimension. And I've been having such a hard time with my ATG gun going over the foam. It's been giving me a hard time recently, but I get it. So now I'm going to look through the other packs of ephemera that I pulled, and I had so much fun because I didn't use a collection. And this is different for me. I'm so used to scrapbooking with a collection or a kit. This was fun to just pull from my stash and just use some random things that all kind of went together. So my color combo here, I guess, is blues, greens, and little pops of purples, because I brought that purple in behind the photo. And I really love the way that this looks. So I'm doing a little cluster here at the bottom right hand corner of the photo. I like to use frames to start a cluster. I think that they're just really great, a great layering piece. And then I used that circle and then this little label where I can either write a little sentiment or I can write out the date. And I'm putting some foam dots behind that because the photo is up on foam. So you want to make sure that you're putting foam behind all of the things that are hanging off of your photo. So now I'm looking through my little flare, my epoxy flare. They are my favorite. If you have not checked her store out, I will also link that below. She's amazing. She's a small business. She has a little Etsy store and she makes amazing epoxy flare. I love using them on my layouts because they're flat. They're more flat and they're not metal. So it makes me happy. So I pulled a ticket from one of the ephemera packs that says amusement just because I thought it was funny. And even though I know it's like an amusement park or an amusement ride. And then I'm pulling some flowers and some leaves from the Paige Evans ephemera pack, and I'm going to layer those in a couple places. And then that is pretty much going to be my layout for today. I hope that y'all enjoyed this kind of video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Again, I would love to have you join our community over on Patreon. If you are on the fence about it, I would suggest signing up for a month and just see what we're about, see what our community is about. We have a private Facebook group and they get lots of extra things like mood boards, sketches, videos, stash bash videos, all kinds of exclusive content from myself. So thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to spread love and be kind. I hope that you all have an amazing day. Bye.